Well, welcome to the Free Agent Podcast. My guest today is Dave Paeske with Floor Coverings International. Good morning, Dave.
Morning, Meg. Good to see you.
And you as well. For those who are listening to the podcast, I'll do a quick intro as to what this is all about. The mission of the show is to share inspiring conversations with real people who took the leap into business ownership, franchising, and freedom. From corporate refugees and executives tired of the desk job to entrepreneurs and investors looking for more support in their business journey, my podcast aims to spotlight real people who stepped into the unknown, took control of their destiny, and became their own boss. And I just got to say, Dave, as I was reviewing your LinkedIn profile this morning, you are absolutely the epitome of an individual who chose free agency, looking reality, looking future forward, and you made a very specific and purposeful decision to jump into business ownership. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's been a couple of fun years to watch your growth and see your transitions into business ownership maturity. But for the sake of the audience listening, give a background of your corporate career and how it is that you ended up choosing free agency.
Sure. I actually spent 17 years with AT&T in a variety of roles. I was in sales and project management and managed authorized distributors for a number of years. And my last role was with a call center. And one of the toughest things in all my years in corporate America was downsizing people, which we did several times a year, and it never gets easier. And, during those years, I always knew that at some point it could and probably would be my turn. And when I eventually did get that downsizing letter, there are people who in corporate America kind of drop the mic and say, I'm done with this. I'm going to go open my own business. I had help from the corporation to make that decision in that I was downsized, and opening my own business was always in the back of my mind over my career. And so when I was given the opportunity to go out and find something new, exploring owning my own business was very high on the list. And so I looked at several different business opportunities, and Floor Coverings International was really the one that spoke to me, and that's what brought me here.
The other business opportunities that you looked at, were any of them independent versus franchise?
No. As I looked at opening my own business, it was really different franchise opportunities. I was kind of comparing one against another and really seeing what was the opportunity. Did it fit my area of interest, my area of what I felt was expertise, something I would enjoy doing. So it was really just comparing and contrasting different franchise models.
Is there anything about the franchise model that is particularly gratifying for you versus an independent?
To me, yes. And I'm trying to think of how you put that into words, but just the idea that, the things I'm going through, the ups, the downs, the excitement, the challenges are things that other people have gone through in the same business. And it gives me confidence that, as I face challenges, others have faced those challenges and they've been able to get through. And I like the idea of having support, kind of support behind me of other owners that, have faced what I might be facing, and, here's what they did to solve it. And frankly, conversely, I take satisfaction in when other people are facing challenges that I've gone through. I can kind of share, well, here's what I did. And I kind of enjoy that giving back aspect to help others in the network to succeed and grow as well.
And Floor Coverings has a great reputation. It's certainly not the sexiest of business models. What was the attraction to Floor Coverings International?
That's a great question. I've always been kind of a do-it-yourselfer around my own house, and I've enjoyed construction and have done a variety of projects around the house. And so, when it comes to franchise models, there's so many different things. There's food and there's more, hiring and staffing type of businesses and lots of different things. I really pretty quickly narrowed down to I wanted to do something in the home improvement space. And once I had that narrowed down, I liked the idea that Floor Coverings International had wonderful products. That was the first thing. And I liked the idea that there's actually a product that we're selling. And I really, really liked the model in that we call ourselves the flooring store at your door. So rather than having a showroom, we bring the entire business out to the customer's home in a mobile showroom with all of the samples. And so it makes things easier for the customer. Frankly, it makes it easier for me in that I can see the color and style of their home. It really helps in making the right recommendations. And so it was a combination of the products and the model and the way the whole business was structured that really appealed to me, and in the end kind of won out over some of the other things I was looking at.
And the network of owners within Floor Coverings International, it's a nationwide concept. How many different franchise owners are there in your system? And do you have a posse, or do you have a routine meeting support network?
Yes. There's about, and the number changes, and there's been quite a bit of growth over the summer, but we're in a neighborhood of 150 locations, mostly in the U.S. and a few in Canada. And so I have kind of a, unofficial collection of other owners that I've gotten to know through going to conventions and things like that. And then I have more of an official, what we call a momentum group. And there are 7 of us owners from all around the country. In my group, there's a woman that owns a location in Phoenix, a couple from Florida, 2 different locations in Florida, and Washington State. And so we meet, we used to meet quarterly in person. Lately, we've been, of course, meeting via Zoom, and actually just had about 3 or 4 weeks ago our first in-person meeting since the whole shutdown. And that was very productive. And same type of thing. We're celebrating each other's successes, and I talked about kind of helping each other through challenges. We're able to do that in a more structured, kind of official, formatted way, and I find that really helps.
Yeah, nice. Well, and so here we are in month 7 of a pandemic, and people are working from home. How has this impacted your business, Dave?
For me and for the flooring industry and the trades in general, we've been very, very fortunate. The combination of people being at home, and given that 90% of our business is residential, people are stuck in their homes, and if they've got stains in the carpet or something they've always wanted to do, hardwood they've always wanted to have in the living room, that's kind of facing them every day on a day in, day out basis. And when you combine that with, there aren't that many things to do with disposable income these days. Vacations are canceled and cruise deposits are coming back in the mail and that sort of thing. Those 2 things have combined to keep us very busy. And then we're also starting to see where the trend in home improvement over the last many years has been open concept and people tearing down walls and opening up their homes. And, that can be very impactful. Lately, we've started seeing a few more projects where people are kind of doing the opposite, where the husband and wife are both working at home, or the kids are doing school at home. And so people are actually kind of building walls and creating some offices and things like that. So that's been an interesting development over the past couple months.
Yeah, and so with the growth that you have had, are there any best practices that you have implemented as we've navigated through the pandemic in order to either maximize revenue or profitability? And I guess another thing that just came to mind is that you're in people's homes. How do you instill trust in those homeowners
Sure.
relative to being in their personal space?
I'll do the second one first and then go back to the first one. Just kind of the basics. I mean, I always wear a mask, and sometimes the homeowners wear a mask and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they invite me to take my mask off or encourage me to take my mask off, and I never do. So I think that's important just to, convey the precautions we're taking. and we sanitize the samples and, try to practice social distancing. That can be challenging if the project involves a bathroom and there's three of us in looking at what they want to do in the bathroom, it's hard to be 6 feet apart. But, wearing the mask helps, and just taking all the precautions we can. As far as the best practices, one of the things I've really focused on is Google reviews. And in the way we get a lot of our business is through what we call digital sources, things like Home Advisor, Angie's List, Thumbtack. There's a variety of internet-based lead aggregators, they sometimes call them, where people go out to the internet looking for flooring, and Home Advisor will give them 5 or 6 different options, and we might be one of them. That's a great way to get started, but the more you can build a loyal following and people that are looking for my business specifically versus just flooring in general really helps. And one way I've been able to move away from digital leads more towards people just sort of reaching out because they like the sound and feel of our company is through Google reviews. And so that starts by taking really good care of customers, doing a good job on their project where they have something positive they're able to say at the end, and then encouraging them to leave a Google review. That has really, really helped us grow on our search engine optimization and show up higher in the search when people are looking for, if they're searching carpeting near me or flooring near me. The other thing I have learned through talking with various marketing experts is that you want to respond to those reviews as quickly as you can and respond to all the reviews. And so I work very hard to do that. And that I feel like that one thing, just working on the Google reviews, getting more Google reviews, and encouraging customers to review us, we've been able to move almost completely away from the digital sources, the Home Advisors and Angie's Lists of the world, and move really almost exclusively to people finding us on Google.
So now you're considered to be a trusted resource, and I imagine that there are referrals, word of mouth referrals that are coming from that?
Yes. Yeah. So when people, if they're searching for flooring and they really don't know any of the companies that provide flooring in town, reading those reviews really helps set us apart. But also when we go into the home, we're kind of going in with a level of, they already know that we have a good reputation as opposed to not having any idea what we're about. I think they have a little more trust in us, even though they really don't know us yet. They have a little more trust just on the reading, being able to read the experience their peers have had.
How long have you been in business, Dave? Just to give a perspective of
Sure.
the maturity of your business and how you've transitioned over the last couple of years.
Yeah, a little over 3 years. And this year in 2020, I think, the pandemic aside, I've really felt a shift after getting kind of the first 2 years into my belt and being into the third year in, you'd mentioned word of mouth, you'd mentioned referrals. There really is none of that the first year, and a little bit, it kind of grows a little bit, but I've felt, that curve has really gone up this year in terms of customers that did a project a year or two ago calling back because they have other things they want to have done. I'm getting, initially the first year or so, the phone would never ring. Like I just wouldn't have people call me looking for flooring because we weren't that well known yet. We didn't have any search engine optimization built up. Now, 3 years later, it's very common to get a call that their real estate agent told them about us, or they had a family member that we did work for, or they saw one of our yard signs of a neighbor that's having work done. Those kinds of things, that word of mouth and that referral business has really grown, and that's very, very helpful because, again, they know our reputation coming in. It's not that you have to spend a lot of time building trust. They already know the type of work we can do, and we can move right into, let's see what you'd like to do and find just the right thing for you.
Yeah, nice. So in your third year of business and looking back, is there anything that you would have done differently if you could have a do-over?
How long is the podcast?
I know one or two of them for you.
Well,
go
I mean,
ahead and talk
yeah,
about them.
I mean, for me,
It's good for people to know that we're all business owners, and you get in and you're enthusiastic and you make some decisions, and then you go back and go, oh, whoopsie. So it's good to talk about the whoopsies.
yeah, and I think for me, far and away, the biggest one is controlling expenses. And I think everybody brings strengths into a business. Everybody brings weaknesses or challenges into a business. And for me, the accounting, the finance, the bookkeeping has never really been, a big interest for me, and therefore it's not something I spend as much time with as I should. And so, so two things I'll say. One is, if I had this to start over again, I would control costs much, much better. I would have, just much more closely watched job costing and cost of projects, but also, I kind of started out trying just about anything in terms of marketing. Someone would come along and say, hey, we've got this, calendar we're putting together that goes out to the, high school families and advertises when the football games are. You can advertise on all kinds of different things like that. Some are good, some are not. I would just sort of try those, A, because I like giving back to the community, and B, because I thought, hey, it's a great way to reach people. But some of those are better investments than others, and so I think more closely watching those. I think my first couple of years I overspent on the warehouse. At Floor Coverings International, we don't have a showroom. I mentioned everything's done out at the customer's house, but we have a warehouse where the carpeting, the flooring, everything gets delivered. And so I think I overspent on the physical space. I've corrected that over the past couple of years and have costs much, much more in line. So looking forward, I've got a very good fiscal picture, but it would be nice to be able to go back and have corrected some of the overspending I did the first couple of years.
I think that's a really common initial mistake. People are gravitating from something they're comfortable with, a job or whatever you've been doing in the past, and into business ownership. And there's this natural enthusiasm that starts to bubble up. I remember starting with Mary Kay a long, long time ago and ordering a ton of inventory. That would have been, I don't know how many decades ago, and I still have some of that inventory. So the enthusiasm to touch and feel the product, very common going in. But then, isn't it great when you look at your P&L and you've made those corrections and you see what's dropping to the bottom line? And it makes me smile when I can see just those simple tweaks. They can have a major impact on your bottom line.
Very much so, yeah. And I credit your group of franchise owners that we meet with. That when I went through my kind of wake up call that I've got to cut some costs here, I'm going to have some serious problems. This was really about a year ago now, last October or so, and it was there's an attorney in your group and a couple other franchise owners that I talked with and was able to talk with what worked for them, and they had one of the guys even had some warehouse space I could use on a short term while I moved out of my old warehouse and found my new warehouse. And so it's hard to put a value on just how valuable that networking and having relationships with other small business owners in town really helps. I talked about the help through the franchise network, but having other business owners and other businesses locally really, really helps as well.
It is a great group that meets once a month and shares best practices, and the spirit of collaboration and being stronger. We are stronger together when we let down our competitiveness and start to collaborate. There have been some great collaborations in that particular group. Are there individuals or different types of businesses that have been particularly strategic for you?
In general, the three types of businesses that I can probably network with the best, or just in terms of finding more business, Real estate agents, certainly, you hear different numbers. 20 to 30% of all flooring happens when people either fix up their house to sell or have just bought their house and they want to kind of make it their own before they move in. So try to do a lot of networking with real estate agents, interior designers, certainly. Interior designers kind of like the fact that we have a very, very broad selection. So if they're looking for something very specific for a client, chances are very good that we're going to have something very close to what they're looking for. Restoration companies that fix water damage, wet basements, things like that, because, anytime a basement floods or a refrigerator or dishwasher or washing machine fails and floods the floor, oftentimes flooring needs to be replaced. And so those are good networking partners. And then the other one is painters, because when people are freshening up a space, painting and flooring tend to go hand in hand. And so I'm able to provide leads to the painters I work with, and their clients are often calling me because they're having painting done and want to have flooring done next.
Nice. Yeah, those are free leads, free referrals. And again, the trust level is just so much higher when you've got a direct referral like that. Shifting gears a little bit, talk about how owning your own business has impacted your family or your personal time over the last few years. What have been some of the ups and downs of incorporating business ownership into your personal life?
Boy, it's a couple of things, some positives and some things I'm still trying to work on. And I think myself and other small business owners I talk with, we tend to work way too many hours. And, because in a small business, there's always something I could be doing. And I've really challenged myself to kind of get past the guilt that if I'm ever taking 15 or 20 minutes where I'm not working, to stop thinking about all the things I could be doing and really work towards having that balanced life. And so initially over the first few years in business, I think it's taken me away from some of the family time I could have spent. But on the positive side of that, I've had some great experiences working with my kids in the business. My oldest daughter is in college, and she's worked with me at the home show a couple times, and I just find that fun and enjoyable. My middle daughter is a marketing major, and so she's helped with social media and posting and that type of thing. And then my son has probably worked the most in the business, and he does staining and finishing of trim pieces, shoe molding that we put along baseboards when we do flooring projects. He's taken on the stain matching and finishing of those pieces. He does picking up of material at distribution centers and taking things back to the warehouse. When we do hardwood projects, the wood needs to go out to the home a couple days early so it acclimates in the house. He's done those deliveries, and so it's been great, kind of bringing him into the business, and he's really developed kind of an entrepreneurial spirit where he would like to, whether it's my business or a different business, he would like to own his own business someday. And so that's been very, very positive to kind of spend that quality time with him while maybe working a little too much in the business.
And again, I think it's a human trait to want to dive in and embrace it and understand it, and then feel more comfortable about taking a step back to be working on the business, not always in the business. But what a great legacy for your kids. Yeah,
it was one of the things I thought about going back to why did I open my own business? Different times during my corporate career, when all the frustrations people go through in corporate America, I would find myself thinking, well, I wish my dad had some big, huge business. He could have just left me. I could have walked into the family business. And now here I am, I have a family business, and I really, one of my strong motivations is to build this into something that that I can leave to the kids if they would like to take over and run the business or sell the business, just to have something like that for the kids. That's very important.
Is there anything looking back that you realized that you didn't have it in your past job or in your career and you wouldn't trade today for the world? Are there freedoms? Are there benefits that are clear delineation between where you were and where you are now?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind when I think of that question is just the happy and satisfied customers that, when we do a flooring project, an example would be someone who maybe they have a 2-story colonial house and they've got carpet in part of the house and sheet vinyl in part of the house, and they want to tear all of that out and put in luxury vinyl plank that will go all across their whole first floor. And, we love those projects because it opens up the house and really beautifies things and updates the home. So to me, where I was going is sometimes those projects are just smooth as glass. You go in and everything goes just like it's supposed to, and everyone's happy when we're done. And sometimes there's a couple challenges that you work through and figure out. And, we pride ourselves in being able to work through those challenges and, stick with it until the customer's thrilled. But to me, the thing that I did not have in corporate America that I just love about this job is at the end of the project, when the customer is just thrilled and they're thankful and they're complimenting how hard the craftsmen, the installers worked on the project and how much they enjoyed the process, maybe not every bit of the process, but picking out the material and seeing how beautiful it turned out in the end. And, in corporate America, at least in my experience, when I was in corporate America, I was so far removed from that happy customer. And, depending on the corporation, not everybody's happy, and sometimes they don't work as hard as they maybe could to make sure everybody's happy. I pride myself in sticking with every single project until we have a really, really positive outcome, and just being able to experience that satisfaction of the customers and kind of leaving a trail of satisfied customers behind me is something I didn't have in corporate America and really, really enjoy and take pride in here.
I think you put your finger right on it. You are now in control of everything every day, and there are hard decisions that have to be made, and there are mistakes that come up periodically, and you have to do the mea culpa and make the customer satisfied. But a lot of corporate people get into business ownership and are reporting the same thing. You see the smile, you see the satisfaction, you know that your people have provided that outcome, and you don't get that in corporate America. You don't get that immediate gratification.
Well, and I think being the business owner, I'm in control of, my personal philosophy is we stick with the customer until they are happy. And in corporate America, even though I had that philosophy, the corporation didn't always have that philosophy. And sometimes your hands are just tied and you've got this upset customer that, as a corporate employee, you're doing everything you can and trying to pull in all the right resources, and you just can't make them happy. And they end up leaving upset, and there's nothing you can do about it. And as a business owner, that is completely in my control. And I do like the fact that I can kind of put my personal philosophy of we make sure everybody's happy. I can put that into practice and make it a reality.
I love it that your kids have all been involved in the business and are watching their dad be a real interactive person in the community, and that imprint that you're leaving on them has got to be really rewarding for you to see how they are perceiving you now.
Yeah, yes, it is. And, in my son at his high school, there's, several of the kids come from entrepreneurial families, and they enjoy, the kids call it merch, having each other's, branded apparel that they can wear to, they kind of wear their family company business branded material with pride and trade it and wear each other's stuff. And so that, not something I really expected going in, but that's kind of nice to see as well.
Excellent. Well, for the sake of the audience, anyone who would like to get in touch with you to either explore flooring options for their residence or their business, or anyone who would want to get in touch with you just to talk over what business ownership has been like for you, go ahead and give some contact information.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to talk with anybody that's considering business ownership. I'm happy to share my experiences. And so my cell number is 262-424-0766. 6'8", and I'm on LinkedIn at David Paeske, Paes, like Sam, Ke.
And it would be really helpful if people listening to this contact you, if they would make reference to the Free Agent podcast, so that it gives Dave a little bit of frame of reference for where the question might be coming from. Thank you, Dave, for spending time with me today. I always enjoy seeing you on the First Friday calls, and just the generosity and spirit that you share with the other business owners has been really rewarding for me to get to know you. And this has been a lovely deep dive into your experience as a business owner, and I appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you, Megan. Thank you for inviting me to participate.
My pleasure. We'll see you soon.